Hello and welcome to News Central Television with me, Blessings Mosugu. The top stories at this hour. Authorities clear wreckage from the site of a gas tanker explosion at Otedola Underbridge, Lagos. Drama as Governor Fubara denied entry to Assembly Complex. Mozambique opposition leader Venancio Mondlane interrogated for 10 hours. We've got the details in a moment. News Central now this hour begins with updates from the gas tanker explosion in Lagos last night. The aftermath of Tuesday's gas explosion on Otedola Bridge is nothing short of devastating. Charred remains of vehicles and tricycles litter the area where mechanics watch in horror as their workshop goes up in flames. Now, firefighters are still battling to put out pockets of fire while evacuation efforts are underway. The affected buildings, including a dental clinic and residential building, are barely recognizable. The recovery process has ended with one body pulled from the scene and the fatality toll now at 4. For now, the gas tanker has been evacuated and traffic is being managed, but the incident will significantly impact the daily commute. Police, firefighters, and emergency officers are working tirelessly to ensure public safety. In other news, President Bola Tinubu has called for the speedy implementation of the recent Supreme Court judgment in favor of 27 lawmakers in Rivers State, loyal to the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike. President Tinubu made this call as he received elders from Rivers State and members of the Pan-Niger Delta Forum at the State House in Abuja, where they expressed their worry over the disintegrating peace in the state, brought about by the crisis between the state governor, Simeon Fubara, and the state lawmakers. President Tinubu, while expressing his confidence in the judiciary, urged members of the forum to compel the governor to implement the judgment of the court in a bid to foster peace in the state.
Foremost among our concerns is the escalating political crisis in Rivers State, which poses a significant threat to national stability. Despite your fatherly efforts to mediate between the parties involved, the situation continues to deteriorate due to conflicting and contradictory court rulings. This protracted conflict is a matter of grave concern, as Rivers State is a strategic economic hub, particularly in the oil and gas sector, which we all know is the backbone of our national revenue.
That this is a nation of rule of law. I should not be here as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria if there's no rule of law. I have total confidence in our judiciary. Expectations, human beings that make errors. But when the Supreme Court is spoken, they are said. Please go back home and help him implement those recommendations within the shortest possible time.
Away from that now, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, the lawmaker representing Kogi Central, has taken to the United Nations Parliamentary Union in New York to report her suspension from the upper legislative chamber. Now, at the Women in Parliament session, Senator Natasha sought justice and the intervention of global democratic institutions over what she described as injustice meted out to her. She says she fears for her safety and worries she might be detained against her will in New York by, quote, powerful forces from Nigeria.
This is a bigger picture. It depicts the crisis of women political representation. My suspension is not just about me. It's about the systemic exclusion of women from political leadership in Nigeria. Women make up 3.6% of political offices, and in the Senate, it's just 2.8. We have 109 men, and only 4 of us are women. So right now, it's 108 with only 3 women. This is a clear case of political victimization punishment for speaking out against impunity, corruption, and gender-based violence. The United Nations Declaration 48-104 declares sexual harassment as a form of gender violence. The Senate's actions are an assault on democracy. I was elected by my constituents to represent them, yet a few powerful men have unilaterally decided to silence their voices by suspending me for 6 months. My call for an open and transparent investigation into harassment allegations have been met with hostility instead of accountability. If a female senator can be treated this way in the full view of the world, imagine what ordinary Nigerian women will go through every day in workplaces, in universities, and other aspects of our society. A culture of harassment and silencing must end. And this is not just a Nigerian issue, it is a global one. Women in politics, media, and businesses face threats, intimidation, and violence for simply demanding fairness. From sex for grades scandals in universities to harassment in workplaces and political spaces, Nigerian women have constantly been forced into silence.
Meanwhile, the president of the Inter-Parliamentary Union, Tulia Axon, has assured embattled Kogi Central lawmaker, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, that due process will be followed in addressing the concerns surrounding her suspension from the Senate. Axon's assurance came in response to Natasha's appeal for intervention by the IPU and the United Nations over what she termed an unjust suspension from the Nigerian Senate. Akpoti-Uduaghan had alleged that her suspension stemmed from a petition that she submitted against Senate President Godswill Akpabio over allegations of sexual harassment. In response, Axon acknowledged the gravity of the issue and assured that the IPU would follow due process by hearing both sides before taking a position. A Nigerian delegate present at the session had sought to speak on the matter, but was not given an opportunity due to time constraints.
There was a matter that arose during the first session, which we had this morning. The matter that was raised by our colleague from Nigeria, Senator Natasha, and because all of us heard what she said, and it only serves us better if I put a word in what she has said. So I would like to say we have heard her concerns, and having heard her, it would have been an opportunity for all of us to understand more about what she has said. But because we listened only on her side, as an institution, as IPU, we will be taking the concerns that have been raised, not only taking her side, but also giving a chance to listen to the other side, as it is a custom for IPU. And after having listened to the other side, we will take steps.
Now, the Senate has tasked the Independent National Electoral Commission to immediately conduct by-elections to fill vacant seats in the red chambers for Edo and Anambra State in order to ensure continuous representation of the affected senatorial district. The Senate also urged the electoral body to implement a Supreme Court directive restoring the annual Chatu State constituency in Delta State. A National Assembly correspondent, Sagir Ibrahim, brings the details.
It's the start of a new legislative week as lawmakers reconvene for another week of parliamentary activities. As the sitting commenced, the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, declared vacant the seat of Anambra South Senatorial District and Edo Central Senatorial District following the death of Ifeanyi Uba from Anambra State and the election of Monday Pewolo during the Edo State off-cycle governorship election. He then ordered INEC to immediately carry out by-election to fill the vacant seats.
Those two seats are hereby declared vacant, and we urge INEC to immediately conduct, in line with the Constitution, elections to fill those two vacancies.
As proceedings continue, the senator representing Delta North Senatorial District, Ned Nwoko moved a motion urging INEC to restore the Anyocha 2 state constituency in the Delta State House of Assembly. He says his motion aligns with a Supreme Court ruling delivered in 2019, which is yet to be implemented by INEC. The Delta North lawmaker expressed concern over the lack of progress by the electoral umpire despite concluding processes for the restoration of the constituency.
That the delay in implementing the Supreme Court judgment undermines the rule of law, disenfranchising the people of the affected towns, and also denying them proper representation in Delta State House of Assembly.
Other lawmakers contributed to the debate.
It is expected that once the court has ruled in favor of the restoration of suppressed constituencies, it should be taken as automatic.
We have a similar situation in Isoko North local government. There was a constituency, then after the 1999 constitution, those constituencies were removed. And for my own particular case, Isoko North, we have only one constituency in that local government, state constituency in that local government.
In the end, the President of the Senate upheld all the prayers put forward by the Delta lawmaker, directing INEC to immediately implement the Supreme Court judgment.
To urge the management of the Senate to get in touch with INEC immediately and to plead with you to also take it up with your colleagues in the House of Representatives so that there will be concurrence to these prayers. I think the puzzle is resolved in favor of Anyocha North 2 state constituency.
INEC's compliance with the Supreme Court ruling means that in the next Delta State Assembly elections, candidates will contest to represent the people of Anyocha 2 constituency at the State House of Assembly. In Abuja for News Central, I'm Sagir Ibrahim.
Now, the House of Representatives has launched an investigation into the frequent vandalism of oil and gas pipelines across Nigeria, citing the severe economic and environmental impact of the attacks. This decision followed the adoption of a motion of urgent public importance sponsored by Mohammed Shehu, who represents Fagge Federal Constituency, Kano State, along with 15 other lawmakers. According to Shehu, Nigeria recorded over 7,000 cases of pipeline vandalism between 2018 and 2023, leading to losses worth $12.74 million in crude oil. He warned that continued breaches pose a serious threat to the environment, livelihoods, and national revenue. The House has now resolved to assess the effectiveness of past and present government measures aimed at safeguarding the country's oil and gas infrastructure. It's time now to go on a short break, and when we come back, Kebbi State government seeks military deployment. Details of this and more after the break. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us on the news. Let's turn our focus back now to Rivers State, where tension flared at the State House of Assembly complex on Wednesday when Governor Simialai Fubara was denied entry. Security personnel locked the gates, blocked the governor's convoy from accessing the premises. Now, officials claim there was no official communication from Fubara regarding his visit. However, the governor insisted he had informed Speaker Martins Amewule through a letter and even tried calling him on Tuesday. The standoff highlights ongoing political tensions in the state.
Can you bring your hand down small?
Before my arrival, there's several attempts by phone call to reach the speaker. I also did a letter personally which was transmitted to the speaker.
Now to security matters. The Kebbi State government has called for the immediate deployment of troops to Birnin Dede, Arawa local government area, following a deadly attack by the Lakurawa terrorist sect on Sunday, which left at least 13 people dead. The chief press secretary to Governor Nasir Idris, Ahmed Idris, confirmed that the governor recently held a high-level security meeting with top security officials to address the rising insecurity in that region. Now, he also stated that the troop deployment is part of a broader strategy to curb terrorism and and reassure residents of the government's commitment to their safety. Now, Governor Idris also reaffirmed that his administration is working tirelessly to ensure that every citizen can live without fear. We're still staying on security matters. Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher, has called for regional and military collaboration to tackle the challenges of insecurity, transnational crime, and terrorism. General Musa made this call during the 43rd Ordinary Meeting of the ECOWAS Committee of the Chiefs of Defense Staff, which held in the nation's capital, Abuja, urging fellow defense chiefs to collaborate in the area of intelligence sharing, military expertise coordination, amongst others.
The situation in the region, marked by the activities of terrorist armed groups, transnational organized crime networks, banditry, and others, have continued to present daunting challenges to the regional integration project. Governance deficits, ethnic tensions, ecological degradation, and other natural and man-made factors.
The complexity of the security landscape demands that we leverage our collective expertise, intelligence assets, and coordinate our efforts towards borders if we must solve these challenges as the world has become a global village and the gap between us shrinking even more. Thus, collaboration is paramount and imperative to address both the root causes and symptoms of insecurity in our region.
Now, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has confirmed the law enforcement agency will no longer parade criminal suspects to the media before they are charged to court. This move follows a directive by the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, which formally forbids the practice. This ban is expected to ensure the Nigeria police respect and uphold the fundamental human rights of the suspect and adhere to global best practices in policing. The practice of parading suspects is based in the provisions of the Nigeria Police Act 2020, which allows the police to parade suspects before the media with a view to protecting lives and property, prevent, detect, and prosecute crimes. Nigeria and Jamaica are considering a direct flight route as part of efforts to strengthen the bilateral air service agreement. Jamaican Ambassador to Nigeria, Lincoln Downer, and Consular Andre Hebert met with Aviation Minister Festus Keyamo in Abuja to discuss this proposal. A statement from the ministry highlighted Jamaica's growing interest in Nigerian culture, particularly Afrobeat and Nollywood. Ambassador Downer emphasized the need to enhance air travel between both nations. In response, Keyamo welcomed the proposal and expressed commitment to advancing discussions. The move aims to boost tourism, trade, and cultural exchange between Nigeria and Jamaica, further strengthening diplomatic ties. Now, Nigeria's federal government has been tasked to ensure the protection of the digital rights of citizens nationwide. This was as Nigeria's Center for Information Technology and Development and European Union, the Advocates Sans Frontières, and other partners hosted an e-rights training for judges and lawyers in Abuja, calling for more efforts to ensure that the infringement of citizens' digital rights is curbed, including the prevention of online activities that promotes abuse.
In the last 5 years, Nigerians have experienced a number of things, including a ban on Twitter, several attempts to legislate regulations that could infringe on the rights of citizens. There have been arrests of citizens due to their posts online, to mention a few. While regulations are important in defining what is acceptable and not, in creating these regulations, government must understand that these regulations should not and must not infringe on the rights of citizens to express themselves and or to access information.
We have to work, and you have to work as journalists, we have to work as lawyers to develop the protection of these rights. It's a new world, and we have to masterize how to work in a peaceful way in this new world.
Gone are those days where we have to sit down in a particular space or a market square and start discussing the things that affects our nation. Anybody with this kind of right can, from other part of the world can actually comment on the things that are really happening in this country. And it's first of all better for us to understand the concepts. And of course, for every right, there are always restrictions. So we understand the concepts, we understand the restriction, and we can understand how we can advocate these rights to our citizens.
Now to health matters. A detailed analysis of Borno State's budget performance over the past 2 years shows that the government has focused on stabilizing local governance and addressing the healthcare needs of the people amidst the ongoing humanitarian crisis in the region. Now, according to the budget report, Borno's health sector saw an increase in funding between 2024 and 2025, emphasizing a focus on revitalizing healthcare services amidst the human resources challenges in the state. News Central's Umoru Kirawa completes the report.
The healthcare sector in Borno State suffered one of the largest shares of the atrocities committed by insurgents while they held sway over the region. The activities of Boko Haram insurgents further compounded challenges, leading to shortage of qualified medical personnel and the destruction of hospitals and medical equipment.
45% of our healthcare facilities were destroyed through the insurgency.
With an approved budget of 358 billion naira, 419 billion naira was the final fiscal appropriation for Borno State for the year 2024. The Borno State Ministry of Budget and Planning says the government has achieved 84% in the budget implementation.
We hope that 2025 will even strike better. This is a clear demonstration of this administration's commitment to service.
92 billion 181 million is the allocation for health and human services out of the 615 billion naira 2025 budget.
His Excellency gave 15% of the budget last year to healthcare. So we are looking at a situation where the equipment necessary at the Kashim Ibrahim University Teaching Hospital, such as radiology departments, are acquired through this budget, and the completion of the hospital will be done this year, and commissioning of the hospital will be done this year. We are constructing general hospitals in Magumeri, general hospitals in Mafa, in Dikwa, in Gubio, in Uba, as well as general hospitals in Kaleri, will be constructed in this year's budget. And we have already commenced the renovation of revitalization of 99 primary healthcare centers, and construction of new primary healthcare. 6 of them will be done in this budget of 2025.
For a state with the third highest maternal mortality rate in Nigeria, Borno is battling to crush the indices as it recovers from insurgency.
We have seen the building of 2 schools of nursing and midwifery, one in Manguno and one in Goza. There have been renovation and construction of about 12 primary health cares in 2024 that was done, and revitalization of 39 primary health care services. Previously, we can only graduate 150 nurses and midwives per year, but now we're graduating 600 per year.
The future of Borno's health sector will depend on the government's ability to secure more funding for specialized care in tertiary hospitals. Stakeholders say the government needs to streamline its budget execution processes to ensure that allocated funds reach the intended health care programs, particularly in primary health care. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
The Lagos State government has confirmed an outbreak of diphtheria at the King's College, Victoria Island Annex, resulting in the death of a 12-year-old student and the hospitalization of 14 others. In response to the outbreak, the Lagos State government has activated an emergency response committee to commence mass vaccination of school children in King's College in Lagos. News Central's Omolola Ololade has more.
The outbreak of diphtheria at the King's College, Victoria Island Annex, resulting in the death of a 12-year-old student and the hospitalization of 14 others, has attracted the attention of Lagos State government in combating the disease. In response to the outbreak, the Lagos State government, in collaboration with federal health agencies, activated an emergency response committee while immediately commencing a vaccination exercise at both the Victoria Island Annex and the main school in Igboshere to bolster immunity against the deadly infection.
We are coming here today to boost all the children with what we call a diphtheria booster. And today, as you can see behind us, we have several of our staff lined up to vaccinate every child that has received consent from their parents. The vaccine will start to work in their body to build up their immune system that already exists from their childhood immunization and make it even more robust, so that if they come into contact with a child that has the fever and is exporting the bacteria in their droplets, that they are not likely to catch the diphtheria fever. We're also going to vaccinate all staff here, adults. They don't need consent. They just need to know that they need to be vaccinated because they're working with children. They themselves are likely to be infected, and therefore they need to be boosted.
While the Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, commended the school authority for swiftly identifying cases, the school appreciated the Lagos State government for urgent intervention.
So we appreciate everyone for coming, and we are happy for the intervention. We can now rest knowing that our students are in safe hands. So on behalf of the Federal Ministry of Education, on behalf of all staff of the college, the management, we deeply appreciate all that is going on. Thank you.
You know, we called for the federal and state ministry after the death of the boy. I want to especially thank them for their answering. The way they answered the call, I would say it was not late at all. And we've gone to the school took it upon themselves to console the parents of the child who died. So we've all taken care of that.
Vaccination of minors have always required parents' consent, hence the need for authorities to convince parents and guardians on the importance of vaccination for all students.
We shared the information to our fellow parents, and immediately some of them came to school, some of them sent their consent, and some that did not, maybe by way of religious belief or our affiliation, did not believe. Some of them actually came back to write or to sign their consent. So it has become like a general knowledge, no hidden place. So at this point, most people that did not give consent before have already come to school today to give their consent. So I believe that virtually all our boys will be vaccinated.
The state government is preparing a public health announcement to alert residents to the outbreak, urging vigilance for symptoms such as sore throat, fever, breathing difficulties, and swollen neck glands. Additionally, the Commissioner for Health urged Lagos residents to prioritize good hygiene, avoid crowded places, and seek immediate medical attention if they experience diphtheria-like symptoms in order to contain the spread and transmission of the disease. In Lagos for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
The Lagos State Ministry of Health on Tuesday organized a glaucoma awareness walk to mark World Glaucoma Week, aiming to raise public awareness about the dangers of glaucoma, one of the leading causes of irreversible blindness worldwide. News Central's correspondent Bettina Nweli reports.
The walk, which began at the ministry's headquarters in Alausa Ikeja, brought together health officials, medical professionals, and members of the public. Participants carried placards and banners promoting early detection, regular eye checkups, and proper eye care.
Glaucoma has been known to be the second leading cause of blindness worldwide, and as part of commemoration of the World Glaucoma Week, it's why we want to have this awareness walk. As we all know, after cataract is glaucoma, and we're actually encouraging people to do eye checks at least once in a year. It's the second cause of blindness worldwide.
And many a times when we do our screening programs, we found out that many people that we tend up to pick up end up to have end-stage glaucoma. Why? Because they have not imbibed that culture of, having a regular health check.
The Senior Special Assistant to the Special Advisor on Health, Sarah Balogun, who led the walk, stressed the importance of early diagnosis and treatment in managing glaucoma. She urged Lagos residents to take advantage of the free eye screening services available at the state health facilities during the Awareness Week.
Secondary eye care services is in 12 of our general hospitals: Lagos Island, Ikorodu, Bagada, Ajeromi, Isolo, Badagry, Orile Agege, Ijede, Ifako, Ijaye, Alimosho, Ibejuleki, and Mushin. They are all equipped to investigate and manage cataracts, glaucoma, and other common eye conditions.
Participants also received informational materials on glaucoma prevention and treatment, while the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health, Dr. Olusegun Ogboye, highlighted the significance of the initiative.
As you're getting older also, it becomes more important to check your eyes. So please, I think the most important message from this for the people who are here and the people who are listening is to, one, get your eyes checked, and then two, let everyone you know who you have around you get their eyes checked as well. It's not enough to just check for whether you need glasses or not. Those are two absolutely different things.
World Glaucoma Week is observed globally to raise awareness and encourage action towards reducing blindness caused by glaucoma. In Lagos, the Ministry of Health has scheduled a series of outreach programs, including free eye screenings and health talks at primary health centers across the state. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
And now coming up on the news, Ugandan special forces deployed to South Sudan. We'll tell you more on this after the break. You're still live with us on the news. Now to more stories. Uganda has deployed special forces to South Sudan's capital, Juba, in response to escalating tensions that threaten the country's fragile peace agreement. Confirming the deployment on Tuesday, Ugandan Army spokesman Felix Kulaige stated that the troops were sent to protect the government following recent clashes between rival forces in the northeast. Now, South Sudan has endured years of political instability, with fresh concerns emerging after fighting erupted between forces loyal to President Salva Kiir and First Vice President Riek Machar in Upper Nile State. Uganda had previously sent troops to support Kiir in 2013 at the start of South Sudan's 5-year civil war, before officially withdrawing in 2015. A 2018 power-sharing deal ended the conflict, but the latest violence has once again put the peace agreement at risk. Now, Mozambique's opposition leader, Venancio Mondlane, has revealed that he was interrogated by prosecutors for 10 hours on Tuesday without being informed of the charges against him. Speaking to reporters in Maputo, Mondlane, who claimed victory in the October elections, stated that he has now been placed under judicial supervision. As Mondlane faced questioning, his supporters gathered outside the building, but police dispersed them with tear gas. And this comes just a week after police violently broke up a march by Mondlane's supporters using live ammunition, leaving at least 14 people wounded, according to civil society group Plataforma Decide. Let's go to South Africa, where the country is hosting the highly anticipated Africa Trade Conference 2025, a pivotal event that brings together business leaders, policymakers, and innovators from across the continent for a common goal to enhance trade and collaboration among African nations. Now, as the continent faces a myriad of challenges ranging from regulatory hurdles to infrastructural gaps, this conference serves as a crucial platform for stakeholders to engage in meaningful dialogue. Today, discussions will focus on identifying pragmatic solutions to break down trade barriers that hinder economic growth and prosperity. With Africa's immense potential for growth and its diverse markets, The urgency to foster intra-continental trade has never been more critical. The event aims to explore strategies not just for overcoming obstacles, but for building a more interconnected and thriving African marketplace.
What we're trying to do is to see how do we unlock the opportunity across Africa. As we do know, Africa it's a population of 1.5 billion people, but we only represent about 3% of global trade across the world. And for us, we want to see, with the potential that we have on the continent, how are we able to facilitate trade and how are we able to unlock the opportunities on the continent. One of the things we've been able to unlock in Nigeria is the opportunity for small businesses to facilitate trade. And we've been able to see how we're able to facilitate funding and give them abilities to be able to trade. So what we're looking to see is how do we replicate this across the different markets that we play in on the continent.
We're still staying in South Africa. At least 16 people have died and dozens more have been injured after a bus overturned near Johannesburg's OR Tambo International Airport early on Tuesday. Now, the bus, carrying over 50 passengers, crashed on a busy road leading to the airport. The Road Traffic Management Corporation confirmed that 12 people died at the scene, while 4 others succumbed to their injuries in hospital. Preliminary investigation suggests the bus swerved, rolled over, and came to a stop facing the opposite direction. A survivor reported that the driver appeared to be speeding before the crash. Now, South Africa continues to battle a high rate of road fatalities, often linked to speeding, reckless driving, and vehicles that are not roadworthy. This tragedy follows several deadly accidents, including one just a day earlier that claimed the lives of 4 school children.
Well, we found a bus. And basically, we had to do a scene assessment and scene investigation. Then we have accounted 45 patients that are being hospitalized as we speak, that were transported by various ambulance services to various hospitals around the city of Ekurhuleni. That includes the driver of a bus. So, and subsequent to that, unfortunately, we found, the paramedics declared 12 of the passengers, about 9 males, 3 females to be specific, and all of them declared dead on scene as a result of the crash.
Now, outside of the African continent, UK Minister for Maritime Security Mike Kane has addressed Parliament following the collision of a cargo vessel with a tanker carrying flammable jet fuel. Kane responded to questions about potential foul play. The incident has raised concerns over safety, but the minister emphasized that investigations are ongoing and no evidence of foul play has been found so far. Kane, who's also the junior transport minister responsible for aviation, maritime and security, reassured the public that authorities are closely monitoring the situation. While the collision is being thoroughly investigated, the focus remains on ensuring safety protocols are followed to prevent similar incidents in the future.
Firefighting activity restarted this morning, and I'm pleased to say that the fire on the Stena Immaculate appears to be extinguished, but the Salong continues to burn. Modelling suggests that, should the Salong remain afloat, it will remain clear of land for the next few hours. The assessment of His Majesty's Coast Guard is, however, that it is unlikely the vessel will remain afloat. Regarding the cargo of the vessels, the MV Stena was carrying 220,000 barrels of jet fuel, which was the source of the fire. The MCA is working at pace to determine exactly what cargo the Salong is carrying. I am aware of media reporting regarding potential hazardous materials on board, but we are unable to confirm at this time. However, counter-pollution measures and assets are already in place, and both vessels are being closely monitored for structural integrity.
Constituents in my constituency of Bridlington and the Wolds are rightly concerned about the potential environmental and ecological impact, not least because we have the biggest bird colony in mainland Britain, Bempton and Flamborough. We have the largest shellfish landing port in the UK, Bridlington, and we have around 5 million visitors who come to the area every year, enjoying the beaches from Bridlington.
Now, Emmanuel Macron has rejected accusations that he's overstating the Russian threats emphasizing that France must tackle both geopolitical challenges and domestic security risks. Speaking at the launch of a new headquarters for the General Directorate of Internal Security, Macron responded to critics, including Marine Le Pen, who argue that terrorism is France's top concern. Macron stated that France should not have to choose between fighting external threats like Russia and addressing internal terrorism. He stressed that both must be handled simultaneously. The president also highlighted the shifting global balance, with old certainties disappearing and new risks emerging. Macron reaffirmed that France must defend its values and protect its citizens' right to live peacefully without succumbing to fear.
J'entendais dans les débats ces derniers jours des gens qui, en quelque sorte, remettaient en cause la menace géopolitique. Le président de la République inventerait la menace russe. La vraie menace, c'est le terrorisme. Parfois, ils ont d'autres obsessions même. Mais on n'a pas attendu de lutter contre la menace terroriste. Vous en êtes l'incarnation et les chiffres que je viens de rappeler en sont la preuve. Ces gens-là n'ont pas suivi l'actualité, manifestement. Et une grande nation, elle n'a pas à choisir, elle a à répondre. Et elle n'a pas à décider de lutter contre les menaces géopolitiques qui s'imposent à elle, ou contre les menaces sur son sol projetées par les terroristes. Elle a à faire les deux en même temps. C'est ce que nous faisons.
To business stories, the leadership of Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, also called PENGASAN, pickets the headquarters of Sterling Oil Exploration and Energy Production Co. Limited. The union is accusing the oil firm of mistreatment of Nigerian workers. They said that the firm is hiring Indian workers in menial roles, while almost no Nigerian is in its management team. The union is, however, demanding fair practices and adherence to rules.
If you go to international oil and gas companies, the IOCs, the Chevrons of this world, the ExxonMobil of this world, the Total Energies of this world, the Ajip of this world, the Shell of this world, you will see that all the panel operators are all Nigerians, all, no exception, no exception. But if you go to Sterling, all their panel operators are Indians, all, no single Nigerian. So the question we have asked is that, how can this be happening when you have agencies in Nigeria who ought to check such influx, when you have the NNPC, when you have the NUPROC, when you have the NCDMB, when you have the Ministry of Interiors, when you have the Immigration, they are nowhere to be found.
And to sports, Cameroon Football Federation President Samuel Eto'o has secured a seat on the Confederation of African Football (CAF) Executive Committee, unopposed at the 14th CAF Extraordinary General Assembly in Cairo. The Cameroon and Barcelona legend, who also serves as president of FECAFOOT, was initially barred from contesting the Central African Region UNIFAC seat due to alleged governance issues. However, after a successful appeal to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, CAS, the ruling was overturned, clearing his path to election. His victory also solidifies his authority in African football administration, complementing his growing leadership position in the sport. The addition of the former striker at this crucial moment signifies CAF's step as it steers forward with reforms, financial reorganization, and preparing for major competitions like the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Now, the Nigeria Premier Football League, NPFL, has overturned the suspension imposed on Sami Weyina following the review of his case. The decision came after Sami requested a retrial and appeared before a panel to explain his actions. NPFL Chairman Honorable Benga Elegbeleye confirmed the board's ruling, stating that disciplinary measures are intended as corrective rather than punitive. The panel acknowledged Weyina's inability to honor an earlier summons and considered his formal apology. Now, while the NPFL recognized the physical assault he endured and the loss of his valuables, Weyina was advised to follow proper channels for redress, instead of escalating issues through the media. It was also warned against any actions that could tarnish the league's reputation. Well, that's all on the news at this hour, but before we go, let's take another look at some of our major stories. Now, we told you that authorities have cleared the wreckage from the site of a gas tanker explosion at Otedola on the bridge in Lagos State. We also did mention a mild drama ensued today in River State as Governor Fubara has been denied entry to the Assembly complex. And finally, we mentioned that Mozambique opposition leader Venancio Mondlane has been interrogated for 10 hours over unspecified reasons. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. And do also follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV, channel 422, Go TV, channel 23, Star Times, channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Blessings Wasugu.